My House of Horrors Chapter 521 to 530. The construction of the residential area stopped halfway, and the wiring hasn't even finished, so there can't be any electricity. What is the source of the light? The 4 buildings stood in the middle of the residential area. The light that seeped out from the buildings was like slightly opened eyes, staring at the approaching living people with ill intentions. Seeing that Chen Ge did not come over, Li Jung turned back to yell, "Chen Ge, don't stray too far away from us. Stay alert at all times." Understood. Chen Ge knew that Li Jung was worried about him, so he hurried to his side. I just think this is weird. There is no electricity in the building, so why are there lights coming from the rooms? There are many reasons. Perhaps it's the reflection of the moonlight from the windows, or perhaps the homeless treat the building as their home. Regardless of the reason, we have to be careful when we enter these abandoned buildings. Li Jung seemed to have some bad memories. The abandoned warehouses, factories, and buildings in the suburbs can easily become places for criminals to hide. There are also some madmen who like to try all kinds of mysterious rituals. The more desolate the place is, the more they like it. I was once in charge of a case. The murderer stole dead bodies from the hospital and imagined that he could summon a ghost from the legends. In the end, we captured him inside a smelly sewer in the countryside. Quote. Summoning a ghost inside a sewer. Did he consider the ghost's feelings before doing that? Quote. Chen Ge's answer caused Li Jung, who was about to say something, to suddenly find himself at a loss for words. Sometimes, your train of thought is really hard to grasp. Never mind, I'm not going to waste my breath on you. As long as you know how dangerous this place is, that's enough. Mingyang residence was very big. The 4 unfinished buildings stood before them like 4 tombstones filled with names. As the night breeze blew, the grass and trees swayed, and the branches and leaves rustled. Looking up from the ground floor, it gave people a very uncomfortable feeling. It was as if the 4 buildings could collapse at any moment, burying everything in the area. How about we go to the place where the light is coming from? Li Jung suggested. The closest light is on the left corner of the 2nd floor of the 1st building. If it's on our way, I suggest we go and see what that light is. It's on the way. Room 104 is on the 10th floor. Before we go upstairs, we can check all the rooms along the way. Perhaps we can find some useful clues. Tian Lei was very familiar with Mingyang residence. He had once been in charge of the residence. Room 104 is on the 10th floor. How did they arrange this room number? Quote. The first 2 digits are the floor, and the 3rd digit is the room number on the same floor. 104 represents the 4th room on the 10th floor, Tian Lei explained to Chen Ge. But there are 4 buildings here, so doesn't that mean there are 4 room 104? The 4 rooms on the 10th floor of building 1 are numbered 1 to 4, and the rooms on the 10th floor of building 2 are numbered 5 to 8, so the situation you mentioned doesn't exist. The room numbers of different buildings are linked together. Chen Ge was just curious, but Tian Lei's words gave him some ideas. Why did the residential area's designer design it this way? According to rumors, it was the request of the investors. They planned to build a bridge in the sky to connect the 4 buildings into one, making Mingyang residence a landmark in Zhujiang, but before they could do that, the investors died in accidents. Keep your voices down. Prepare to enter the building. Captain Yan held the flashlight and was the first to enter the darkened stairwell. Connect the 4 buildings into one. Chen Ge memorized that in his heart. The investors had died for no reason, so there had to be more to the whole thing. After entering the stairwell, the temperature dropped noticeably. There was a chill in the air, and every breath felt like someone was blowing on the tip of one's heart. There were many rivers that flowed through eastern Zhujiang, so this place was more humid than other places in Zhujiang. The corners of the walls were covered in moss and mold, and the walls were wrinkled. A finger could easily tear off a large piece. The light we saw from outside came from this room. The few came to the left corner of the 2nd floor and looked at one of the rooms. Li Jung, go in and take a look. Tian Lei, be on guard. Okay. Roger that. The 3 officers did not carry their guns or batons, so they were very cautious. Li Jung walked into the room with the flashlight in one hand. There were some strange drawings on the walls, and there was trash on the ground. The presence of these things proved that someone had lived in this room for a long time. A soft sound came from inside the bedroom. A wine bottle had been knocked over. Come out. I'm the captain of the investigation team at the station, Li Jung. Please come out of the room immediately to cooperate with the investigation. Li Jung shone the flashlight into the room. After a long time, a homeless man in tattered clothes walked out. He looked to be around 60, and his hair and beard were tangled together. He was wearing a torn sweater and a coat that was full of holes. Even in that outfit, he seemed to feel cold. He was wearing a hat that had fallen off and a pair of gloves that exposed his fingers. Name, age, and why are you here? Perhaps it was Li Jung's uniform, but the homeless man did not resist and behaved obediently. My surname is Jung, but I can't remember my first name. I'm the seventh child in my family. Perhaps because he rarely talked to people, the homeless man spoke very slowly. I just wanted to find a place to hide from the rain. After all, this building is empty. If you don't let me stay here, I'll leave immediately. Li Jung, put down the flashlight. Captain Yan walked into the room and looked at the man for a while. It's so hot, but you're wearing so many clothes. Are you uncomfortable? Not at all. I'm very cold. From the homeless man's answer, his mind was clear, so he should not have any mental problems. However, he was wearing much thicker clothes than a normal person. It was like winter had arrived several months earlier. Cold. Captain Yan glanced at the bedroom that the homeless man had walked out from. Stand against the wall. We won't hurt you, but for safety reasons, I advise you not to live here alone. Zhujiang has a special aid center. If you're in trouble, you can go there to ask for help. After saying that, Captain Yan took one step forward, and the homeless man instantly became nervous. Are you afraid? Captain Yan moved his eyes away from the homeless man's face and rushed into the bedroom next door. Don't go there. The homeless man wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Li Jung and Tian Lei stopped him. Don't go in there. You'll die. Quote. Be quiet. The homeless man screamed, and his face was filled with fear, but he did not have the power to stop Captain Yan and Chen Ge. The bedroom was not big, and it gave off a horrible stench. There were some broken dolls in the middle of the room. I didn't kill them. I just saw them accidentally. I didn't kill anyone. The homeless man seemed to have gone mad and started to struggle. I didn't kill anyone. Not me. Quote. These are all dolls. Of course, we know you didn't kill anyone. Be quiet. Tian Lei pressed the homeless man against the wall. When he turned to look at the pile of dolls, he sucked in a cold breath. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. I have a haunted house. I apologize for the trouble. Currently typing, please wait a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Are you blind? Those aren't dolls, they're dead bodies. Let me go. No matter how hard the homeless man struggled, he could not escape from Li Jung and Tian Lei's grasp. He struggled for a few minutes before he calmed down. No wonder he's homeless, he's a madman. The homeless man stopped resisting, and Tian Lei relaxed. Li Jung's reaction was the complete opposite of Tian Lei's. He took out the handcuffs and cuffed the homeless man. Hey, Li, is it necessary to deal with a homeless man? Li Jung kicked away the trash next to him to reveal several steel bars that had been sharpened. Don't let your guard down. These homeless people can do anything when they're angry. Looking at the steel bars that had been hidden, Tian Lei stopped talking. He remembered clearly that the homeless man had been trying to run in that direction. I'm not crazy. I'm trying to save you. The homeless man shouted stubbornly. Shut up. Did you find these broken dolls from the trash? Li Jung looked at the broken dolls on the ground. After these toys were abandoned by their owners, they lost their delicacy and became strange and ugly. Their cracked faces were filled with loneliness and sadness. No, they're not toys. They were here in the first place. It has nothing to do with me. Quote. Still trying to deny it. Tian Lei moved the few steel bars far away to make sure the homeless man could not touch them. There are so many rooms in this residential area, but why is your room filled with broken toys? Do you have some kind of special hobby? Quote. The homeless man seemed to really feel wronged, and his tone did not sound like he was lying. Mingyang residence is a very unlucky place. Many people have died here, and all the tenants who live here are haunted by something. Many people in eastern Zhujiang know about this. If not for the storm that once, and there was nowhere to hide, I would not have come here. Don't change the topic. Answer my question. Did you do all these broken toys? Tian Lei's voice became louder. No, the first time I entered this room, I saw a lot of corpses in the room, the young man said. Then why do you still live here? Tian Lei did not want to correct the homeless man. After seeing these bodies, I can't go back. He will haunt you, and it's useless to run away. The tramp shouted like a madman, now you are stepping on their bodies. One day, they will also step on your bodies. Old Li, what do you think? Tian Lei got goosebumps from the homeless man's words. In fact, he wouldn't feel anything if the setting was changed. This place was just too strange. You believe the words of a madman. Look after him. I'll go ask Captain Yan. Li Jung entered the bedroom, and Captain Yan and Chen Ge were searching inside. Captain Yan, the homeless man is a madman. He said that these dolls are dead bodies, and touching them will lead to bad things. You're too late. Captain Yan raised his hand helplessly at Chen Ge. The boss was even more eager than the police. He did not even use the flashlight. With his eyes wide open, he bent down to look through every piece of the doll. Coughing lightly, Captain Yan turned to ask Chen Ge, Xiao Chen, have you found anything? Most of these dolls are made from plastic, and they come from a long time ago. They should have been collected by the homeless man from all over the world. I'm curious, why would he break all these dolls? Chen Ge picked up one of the doll's heads. Look, this cut was obviously made with a knife, or else it wouldn't be so clean. Perhaps to vent his anger. I'm afraid it's not that simple. I studied toy design and manufacturing at university, so I have some understanding of the materials used to make toys. There are problems with the material and the coloring of these dolls. Chen Ge placed the doll's head before Captain Yan. Look closer. Do you notice anything wrong? Captain Yan looked at it for a long time and really did not see anything. The color has faded. Yes, these dolls look like they have been boiled. Not only are the colors badly faded, but the edges are completely warped. Chen Ge looked at the room full of dolls and was confused. Who would boil these dolls for no reason? Captain Yan could not figure it out. After taking the pictures, he walked out of the room. We should go to room 104 first. That room is the key tonight. When the homeless man saw Captain Yan, he started to scream again. You've seen the dead bodies. They will come for you tonight. You keep saying dead bodies, but in your eyes, this is just a human head. Chen Ge took out the doll's head. When the homeless man saw this, he slammed into the wall. He crossed his arms before his chest, and his expression was one of terror like he had really seen a human head. Take it away. Take it away. Quote. The homeless man did not look like he was acting, and this was out of Chen Ge's expectation. Did he really see something? Initially, Chen Ge did not think much of what the homeless man said, but when he saw the man's reaction, he had a new thought. Moving the doll's head away, Chen Ge followed the man's train of thought. In your eyes, these dolls are dead bodies, but do you know who killed them? I didn't kill anyone. I don't know anything. He only told me to stay here to watch over these dead bodies. I don't know anything else. Quote. Him. Chen Ge and the three officers were startled before they surrounded the man. Who is he? Why did he tell you to watch over the dead bodies? Quote. I can't tell you. I'll die. I'll definitely die. He'll kill me and all of you. The homeless man hugged his head, squatted on the ground, and started to cry in pain. This killer sure is disgusting, threatening a homeless man in his 50s. Tian Lei looked at Captain Yan and Li Jung. Should we bring him back? Get the officers from your station to come and bring him back for interrogation. Captain Yan stared at the homeless man's face for a long time. I've seen this expression on many murder witnesses before. He might really have witnessed a murder. Murder. Tian Lei did not expect a normal civil dispute to turn into a murder case. He immediately called Xiao Qing and the rest. Li Jung, pay attention to the evidence. Give me the flashlight. We'll go to room 104 first. Captain Yan and Chen Ge exited the room and walked up the stairs. In the stairwell, through the glass window, Chen Ge saw an electric scooter pass two police cars in the storm and enter Mingyang residence. Captain Yan, I saw someone else enter the residential area. He's riding an electric scooter. I don't think he's here to hide from the rain. You guys be careful. After entering room 104, we'll leave immediately. Captain Yan walked ahead. The group did not stop, and they soon reached the 10th floor. Stay close to the wall and stay away from the railing. Be careful not to fall. Captain Yan found room 104 and entered it. The biggest difference between this room and the other rooms was that there were all kinds of broken furniture in the room, and there were many children's graffiti on the mottled walls. It feels like a family of 3 once lived here. Chen Ge followed behind Captain Yan. With yin-yang vision, he did not need the flashlight, so he wandered around the room. What is this? There were many dried apples next to the wooden table that was missing a leg, and underneath the table were bitten apples. The people who lived here probably loved apples. Chen Ge picked one up with a piece of paper. It was rotten, and there was mold growing on it. When he saw this, he was suddenly reminded of the apples he had seen in the underground morgue. For cadavers, apples seem to have a special meaning. When there's time, I should ask the doctors. Look at this. Tian Lei, who had a weak presence, suddenly spoke. He shone the flashlight on the left wall of the living room. On the cracked wall, there was a slightly strange painting. 2 adults and a girl were gathered together and talking. Not far away, there was a little boy drawing. These 2 adults should be the child's parents, the girl is their daughter, and the one drawing on the wall is the boy. Li Jung tried to analyze. So, it's a family of 4. When we asked Jia Ming earlier, didn't he say that due to Huang Ling's condition, they did not have a child? Tian Lei raised his brows. Could it be that this man has a mistress? Or has he lied to us? Quote. He definitely lied to us, but he shouldn't be lying about the child. Captain Yan walked out from the kitchen. The house is not finished yet, and it is not Jia Ming or Huang Ling who live here. The child who is drawing probably has nothing to do with them. Are they street children? Li Jung stood beside the window and looked out. But why would they stay in this room? The building doesn't have an elevator, so wouldn't it be easier to stay on the ground floor? Quote. The answer is probably hidden in this room. Chen Ge looked at the ceiling and could not move his eyes away. The other 3 officers saw this and also looked up. On the ceiling of room 104, someone had used sharp rocks to carve out 4 human faces. The 4 faces were facing north, south, east, and west. In the middle was a little girl, and the 4 faces were biting the little girl's limbs. What is this painting trying to express? It doesn't look like something a child could draw. Quote. Zhang Long and Zhang Chuyu were written on the faces of the 2 adults, while Zhang Bai and Zhang Xiaohu were written on the faces of the 2 children. Zhang Long. Isn't that the name of the investor who committed suicide? How did it end up here? Quote. That seems to be the name of his family of 4. Tian Lei thought for a moment. The owners probably vented their anger on Zhang Long. After all, he's the developer. No matter how irrational the owner is, he wouldn't vent his anger on a dead person. Furthermore, the painting is about Zhang Long biting someone else. Captain Yan looked at the painting above his head. The handwriting is too young. It looks like it was written by a child, but a child would not be able to reach the ceiling. There is no place in this room that one can step on. The 3 officers considered the possibilities, but at that moment, Chen Ge entered the bedroom alone. He had to control his expression. Of all the people there, only he knew that Jia Ming had been possessed by Zhang Long. The appearance of Zhang Long's family of 4 confirmed Chen Ge's suspicion. Zhang Long had probably taken over Jia Ming's body for this room 104. Is there something different about this room? Chen Ge looked around for a long time but found nothing. He stood up and looked out the window. From his position, he could see the large cluster of dark buildings in the distance. Liwan City. There was not a single light in Liwan City in the middle of the night. It was like a ghost town. I still don't get it. What is Zhang Long trying to do? If not for Captain Yan insisting on coming, I would have captured Zhang Long already. Chen Ge looked at the few buildings next to him, and as he looked, he noticed a problem. The 4 buildings were located in the north, south, east, and west. They were all 19 floors, and the 10th floor was in the middle. There were 4 rooms on each floor, and room 104 was at the westernmost position. The layout of the 4 buildings is similar to the location of the 4 faces. Zhang Long's face is at the westernmost position, so it matches the location of the first building. Chen Ge went out to look at the painting again. Why would they bite the girl? If each face corresponds to a building. Chen Ge could not figure it out, so he subconsciously moved to the westernmost side of room 104. After moving away the trash on the ground, Chen Ge realized that the color of the ground there was different. He found some heavy objects inside the room and swung them at that area. Under the confused gaze of the police officer, he cracked the thin layer of cement on the surface. It's empty. Chen Ge reached his hand into it and felt like he was touching something. It was not soft, but it was not hard either. He pulled it out completely. When he raised his arm, all the officers in the room, including himself, were stunned. The shadow morphed into the shape of a woman, but at that moment, Chen Ge did not notice it. He looked at the thin, pale arm that he had pulled out. With difficulty, he turned his head to look at the few officers. Honestly, he did not expect it to be an arm that was hidden inside the bag. Don't move. Put it down slowly. Captain Yan was the first to speak. He slowly approached with the flashlight and picked up the arm that was wrapped tightly. After a few glances, Captain Yan seemed to confirm something. Tian Lei, have your people get here in 20 minutes. Li Zheng, inform the officers on duty to come to Eastern Zhujiang's Mingyang residence immediately. Prepare to take over the dismemberment case. Quote. Yes, sir. After giving the order, Captain Yan's expression softened. He asked Li Zheng for a cigarette and passed it to Chen Ge. You must be scared, right? Go outside and have a smoke to calm down. Quote. There's no need. Chen Ge did not accept the cigarette. His face was pale. Captain Yan, do you still remember when we first arrived at Mingyang residence? I asked Captain Tian a question. What question? Why is the room number on the 10th floor of the first building 104? If that's the arrangement, how are the numbers of the other buildings arranged? Quote. Yes, I remember. What's wrong? Captain Yan did not quite understand what Chen Ge was getting at. 4 buildings, each building has 19 floors, and each floor has 4 rooms. Normally, the numbers should have 4 digits. For example, the number for room 1 on the 11th floor of the first building is 1111. But at the time, Captain Tian said that the 4 buildings were a whole, and the builder planned to build a corridor in the sky to connect the 4 buildings together, so the number that represented the building was omitted. Chen Ge tried his best to express what he was trying to say. What are you trying to say? Look up. Chen Ge pointed at the painting on the ceiling. We found the left arm of the body in this building on the west side. It matches the painting perfectly. If the 4 buildings are a whole, then does Mingyang residence represent the girl who was bitten by the human face in the painting? And the other parts, are they hidden in the rooms on the corresponding floors? Quote. Hearing Chen Ge's analysis, the few officers were shocked. Chen Ge's normal behavior was far from being a quick-witted person, but once he arrived at a crime scene, he would always be able to discover something. It was as if the man was born to solve crimes. Come, let's go to the 10th floor of the other buildings. Captain Yan held the arm, and the few hurried down to the second building. Just as Chen Ge predicted, they found an arm inside one of the rooms on the 10th floor of the second building. Let's take some pictures first. Don't ruin the scene. The killer should have left something behind when he buried the body. After Li Zheng finished taking the pictures, the few entered the third building. The building was only half built, and there was no railing on the staircase. If they were not careful, they would fall down. Be careful. The few walked along the wall, and it took them quite some time to reach the 10th floor, but something unexpected happened. They searched all the rooms on the 10th floor, but they did not find the body. However, they did see a large hole in the wall of one of the rooms. Someone was here before us. Chen Ge touched the edge of the wall, and he was reminded of the e-bike that he had seen inside the first building. Captain Yan, do you remember what I told you earlier? Someone rode an e-bike past the police cars. That person might be the killer. It was him who took the woman's legs. Quote. Let's go to the 4th building now. The few rushed to the 4th building, but they were one step too late. The killer's goal was clear, and he knew when to give up. After he took the woman's legs, he retreated without hesitation and abandoned the woman's arms. Risking exposure, he came back to take the woman's legs. Looks like there should be key evidence left on the legs. Tian Lei analyzed, and Captain Yan stood in the middle of the room with a dark face. To steal the woman's legs right under the eyes of the police, this killer is not a normal person. Chen Ge picked up the broken pieces on the ground and tried to piece them back together. The person came with professional tools, like a hammer and iron awl. What I'm curious about is, how did the killer know we were coming? Did he leave a spy at Mingyang residence? Or did he get wind of this beforehand? Or is the murderer someone we've met tonight? Quote. Chen Ge was 90% sure that Jia Ming was the one who stole the woman's legs from the police. Jia Ming was the only one who knew that the police were there tonight. Another detail was that Jia Ming had an electric scooter at home. He had gotten into a car accident while riding it. Captain Yan understood Chen Ge's meaning, but he had his own considerations. The eye gouging case, the dismemberment case, the two cases in western Zhejiang and eastern Zhejiang have something in common. They are filled with a sense of ritual. Could there be some kind of connection between the killers? There shouldn't be any connection, right? Their modus operandi is different. Chen Ge was surprised by Captain Yan's intuition. The door going out of control in Liwan City had something to do with the Society of Strange Tales, and technically speaking, the change at Mingyang residence was due to Liwan City. Therefore, if one was to be honest, the case at Mingyang residence might really be related to the Society of Strange Tales. 25 minutes later, the people from Dongcheng police station arrived. 4 police cars were parked in the middle of Mingyang residential area. This was the first murder case in the past 6 months, so the Dongcheng police station was very busy. Almost all the police officers that they could contact were called over. Captain Tian, we're here. Quote. Stay where you are and listen to Captain Yan's orders. Tian Lei walked to Captain Yan's side. Captain Yan, our men are here. There are 3 teams in total. Team 1, go and look through the nearby surveillance to find a person riding a scooter. Team 2, stay at the scene to collect evidence. Team 3, help me keep an eye on a few people. Captain Yan wrote down a list, and Jia Ming and Huang Ling's names were on it. Chen Ge stood to the side. He had planned to ambush Jia Ming, but after seeing Captain Yan's arrangement, he did not dare do that. Captain Yan, what do you think I need to do? We'll inform you tomorrow when we have the result. After all, this is our job, and you've done a good job. Captain Yan turned to tell Tian Lei, find someone to send Chen Ge back. There's no way to get a taxi here. He's worked hard tonight. Xiao Qing, come here, I'll give you a mission. Quote. Yes. This was Xiao Qing's first time participating in a serious crime case, so he was quite nervous. Do you see that man? I'll drive him home. Tian Lei then left with Captain Yan, leaving the young officer standing there alone. We meet again. Chen Ge greeted the young officer with a smile. You'll be very busy in the future. Xiao Qing felt like Chen Ge's smile was quite scary. Don't waste my time. Where is your home? The captain told me to send you home. Quote. Chen Ge looked at the time. For him, his nightlife had just begun at midnight, and he might not be able to sleep even if he went home. Wait a minute, I need to make a call. Based on Chen Ge's original plan, he planned to go find Fan Kong after meeting Ma Fu to experience that strange game, but who knew so many things would happen in the middle of it. Taking out his phone, Chen Ge sent a message to Fan Kong. To his surprise, Fan Kong was still awake. Several seconds later, he replied to Chen Ge, saying that playing the game after midnight would make it easier to see the problem. As long as Chen Ge was not afraid, he could go there now. After getting Fan Kong's permission, Chen Ge had Xiao Qing drive him to Fan Kong's home. He gave Xiao Qing the address that Fan Kong had left for him. The first residential area in eastern Zhejiang's Liwan City. There's such a place in Liwan City. Don't you know the name of the residential area? Xiao Qing searched online for a long time before he confirmed it. He drove the police car to send Chen Ge to Liwan City. The place was close to the county, and it was deserted. The only good thing about it was the fresh air. The police car drove into Liwan City, and at the end of the road, they saw an old building. You live here. Xiao Qing looked at the empty Liwan City, and his heart felt strangely unsettled. This is my friend's home. Since I'm in eastern Zhejiang, I might as well pay him a visit. A visit at midnight. Won't your friend beat you up? Quote. Fine, you should go back first. Be careful on the road. After Xiao Qing left, Chen Ge stood alone on Liwan City's West Street. Now that I think about it, Fan Kong's home is in Liwan City, that in itself is something worth thinking about. After making the call, Chen Ge entered the first building with Fan Kong's guidance. Boss Chen, you really came. Hurry up and go upstairs. Fan Dade purposely went downstairs to fetch Chen Ge in his tank top. My little brother has been playing for a whole day today. It feels like he's possessed. You have to help me talk to him today. Okay, don't worry. The two came to the top floor. The door of the family on the right had a mirror the size of a palm stuck on it, and the door of the family on the left was half open. Fan Dade led Chen Ge into the family on the left and yelled into the bedroom, "Fan Kong, Mr. Chen is here." Hearing his voice, there was a clatter from inside the bedroom like something had fallen. Then the bedroom door opened, and Fan Kong, who looked extremely haggard and had dark circles under his eyes, poked his head out. Chen Ge closed the living room door. He raised his head to look at the mirror hanging on the door of the family opposite. He snapped a random picture before entering the room. "Fan Kong, how's the progress? Did you find anything new?" Quote. "The plot is stuck. This game is really not meant for humans. I feel like I'm going to suffer from depression soon." Fan Kong dragged Chen Ge into the bedroom. He picked up the bottle of Coke that had been opened at some point and took several gulps. "Stuck." Chen Ge was silent for a moment. "How about I try? I can be considered a professional horror game designer. From a designer's perspective, perhaps I can give you a surprise." Quote. The bedroom was so messy that there was not even a place to stand. Clothes and books littered the floor, and the coffee table was littered with empty bottles and empty lunch boxes. The only tidy thing in the room was the computer table. "Fan Kong, you've been gaming for too long. You should move around and tidy up the room." Chen Ge carefully walked to the computer table and looked at the screen. There was a sentence written in blood on the dark screen: "You've killed Xiao Biyu." This looks like a child's handwriting. Chen Ge had seen similar handwriting in Mingyang Residence Room 104. Don't wear headphones when you're playing. You'll get nervous if you listen to too much music. Fan Chong was very experienced. He clicked on the screen with familiarity, and the line of bloody words slowly disappeared. The screen flashed, and the game returned to normal. The controls are very simple. Just keep clicking with the mouse. By the way, what would you like to drink? Can I have Coke? Quote. Okay, thank you. Chen Ge's attention was attracted by the screen. The game before him was one of those cute girl-themed games. The main color was pink, and it looked warm and cute. It's quite impressive that you managed to clear a game like this. I was just bored. Fan Kong was embarrassed. He pushed open the door and yelled, "Brother, bring me 2 bottles of iced Coke." Quote. After a while, Fan Dade walked in with a tray. "I've made 2 side dishes. If you're tired, you can have something to eat." After putting down the tray, Fan Dade did not show any intention of leaving. He turned to look at the screen curiously. "Mr. Chen, be careful when you play. This game will occasionally show scary scenarios. Don't be fooled by its current style." "Don't worry." Chen Ge did not touch the food on the tray. He had a habit: after leaving the haunted house, he refused to eat food from anyone. With the click of the mouse, Chen Ge soon got the hang of it. He controlled Xiao Biyu to sit up in bed and then walk out the door. With Fan Kong's explanation, Chen Ge soon familiarized himself with the game map. The in-game setting was almost identical to Liwan City in real life. 10 minutes later, Chen Ge found Xiao Bu's classmate's house. Just as he was about to open the door of the secret passage, he suddenly found that when he clicked on the wall with his mouse, a chat box appeared below. "Classmate's house is so big. Do you want to take a look on the 2nd floor?" This sentence should be Xiao Bu's inner monologue. After reading it, Chen Ge turned to look at Fan Kong. "Have you been to the 2nd floor? There's only one certificate of student Xiao Biyu. I've clicked on every part of it, using the carpet method of elimination." Fan Kong was very sure. Chen Ge thought for a moment and controlled Xiao Biyu to go to the 2nd floor. There was a certificate of merit pasted on the brightest part of the door. Clicking on it with the mouse, the dialog box appeared again. Student Zhang Xiao, whose performance was outstanding, and he was evaluated as a 3 good student. This is specially issued as a form of encouragement. Zhang Xiaohu. Isn't this Zhang Long's child? I've seen him in the painting in room 104. Chen Ge stared at the screen for a long time before he realized what was going on. Such a big room, but there's only one certificate of merit. What is it trying to say? He could not understand it. He controlled Xiao Biyu to return to the 1st floor, open the door to the secret passage, and enter it. The bright and lovely scene instantly turned eerie and creepy. The ground was littered with the withered petals of the sunflowers, and there seemed to be eyes opening and closing between the bricks of the secret passage. It felt like a beautiful dream had suddenly turned into a nightmare. "Mr. Chen, from now on, you have to be careful. Danger can come from anywhere, and you'll lose your life if you're not careful." Fan Kong also became nervous. Gripping the can of Coke, he stared at the screen. Walking out from the secret passage, he saw the woman in the red raincoat and the bus stop. Fan Kong had already completed the first part of the plot, so Chen Ge only needed to make the right choice. Earlier, you said the plot is stuck. Where is it? Chen Ge had successfully cleared the first few obstacles. He had shaken off the woman in the red raincoat, evaded Ma Fu's pursuit, and escaped from the drunken artist. The whole process was smooth, and under his control, Xiao Biyu seemed to come alive. It was very agile. After dark, you can't walk on the street, or else you'll die mysteriously. You have to hide inside a building. Fan Kong pointed at the top of the screen. Do you see the color of the sky? It's gray now, but when it turns completely black, it means night has fallen. This game is very well done. Quote. Then what should I do now? Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to stand at the junction, and he was confused. Based on my previous experience, there are still 10 minutes before night falls. You have to find a safe house for Xiao Biyu in these 10 minutes, and that is where I'm stuck. Fan Kong put down the coke and scratched his head. You won't be able to enter a normal house. I've tried many places, but after dark, only the hotel in Xiao Bu's own apartment building can be entered normally. Then why can't you just let her return to her own home? There's a dead body at her home, a female ghost at her neighbor's house, and a murderer is dismembering his victim in the bushes. I've tried many times, but there's only one ending for her if she returns home: death. Fan Kong's eyes were swollen. After dark, the difficulty of this game increases by 10 times. There's no way to survive. That's quite harsh. In that case, I'll just let her go to the hotel. Chen Ge was as calm as ever. He was still calculating the time. It's even worse if she goes to the hotel. The boss is a crazed murderer in disguise, and the chef is a mentally unstable madman. Other than Xiao Biyu, all the other tenants are dead. Fan Kong seemed to have found someone to complain to. This afternoon, I made up my mind to go to the hotel, but I was chased by the boss for 20 minutes. The designer of this game is a madman. One touch from Xiao Biyu will kill him. In other words, the whole game only has one life, and if you die, you have to start from the beginning. Based on what you've said, this is a game of mechanics. The only way I can think of to clear this scenario is to play hide and seek with the boss for the whole night and leave the hotel in the morning. Other than that, there's no other way to survive the night. Fan Kong was desperate. Let me give it a try. Chen Ge glanced at his watch. There are still 7 minutes before nightfall in the game. I'll go take a look at Xiao Bu's home first. He controlled Xiao Biyu to come to one of the more luxurious residential areas in Liwan City. After the style changed, the warm residential area became cold and eerie, and the friendly neighbors had all disappeared. You'll die if you go home. Fan Kong could not bear to watch any longer. Every time Xiao Biyu died, there was an indescribable sadness in his heart. This game appeared to have affected him in real life. The grass rustled, and Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to move away from it. She entered the building directly. At that moment, the elevator opened, and a man in a black raincoat walked out. The man purposely kept his head lowered. A chat box popped up at the bottom of the screen. You did not get a good look at his face, but you remembered his physical features. Taking the elevator back home, Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to open the door, and the chat box appeared again. You found your stepfather lying in a pool of blood. Entering the room, 3 options popped up on screen. 1. Call the police immediately and ask for help from the neighbors. 2. Find a needle and thread to close your stepfather's wounds and turn your stepfather into a doll. 3. Ignore him and go to sleep. Chen Ge thought about it and chose option 3. Brother, calm down. He had just made his choice when Fan Kong stood up immediately. Are you sure you want to choose option 3? Like you said, the neighbor is a female ghost, so option 1 is a dead end. Option 2 does not fit a normal person's logic, so in comparison, it's better to choose option 3, Chen Ge answered seriously. Then do you think option 3 fits a normal person's logic? Fan Kong held his forehead with both hands and smoothed his hair back. Thankfully, spending a night in a room with a dead body is not completely unacceptable for most people. Chen Ge signaled for Fan Kong to sit down and watch the game. A true gentleman does not speak when he is watching a game. Stop talking, I'm going to get serious. This game successfully piqued Chen Ge's interest. Don't play it so casually. I suspect there's a ghost living inside the game. If you let it out and you run away, what are we going to do? Fan Kong cried. Seeing the seriousness on Chen Ge's face, his heart felt unsettled. That won't happen. Chen Ge ignored Fan Kong and controlled Xiao Biyu to wander around the room. His stepfather's body lay in the living room, and it was still bleeding. After choosing option 3, Xiao Biyu in the game walked around the room like he could not see his stepfather's body at all. The house she lives in is quite big. I'm curious, what do Xiao Bu's parents do? And why would there be a dungeon key inside her mother's pajamas? Chen Ge was more and more curious about the plot. He controlled Xiao Biyu to enter the bathroom, and the chat box popped up again. You look at the mirror and realize you're not in the mirror. You hurry out. The mirror can't reflect Xiao Bu's figure. Is Xiao Biyu a ghost? Or is there a ghost living inside the mirror? Chen Ge did not dwell on this question. He entered the bedroom again. Just as he pushed open the door, the chat box popped up. You hear knocking coming from the bedroom wall. It seems to come from next door. What do you plan to do next? 1. The person is asking for help. Call the police immediately. 2. Open the window and climb over to take a look. 3. Ignore her, sleep. Mr. Chen, this sound is coming from the female ghost. Her head keeps bouncing on the wall. If you choose 1, you will hear the female ghost's voice when you pick up the phone. If you choose 2, the female ghost will open the window and come in halfway. So, you can only choose 3, but 3 is also a dead end. At midnight, when the tapping stops, you will open your eyes and see the female ghost's head poking through the wall. Fan Kong had already given Chen Ge a spoiler. I've tried all the options. There's no chance of survival. Chen Ge thought about it and chose option 3. The female ghost's head will only appear at midnight, so there's still a chance to struggle. After choosing the third option, Chen Ge found a needle and thread and a piece of cloth inside the bedside drawer. These should be the tools to make his stepfather into a doll. The design of the details is perfect. Now I'm curious about the second option. Just as Chen Ge was regretting his decision, another message popped up on the screen. The doorbell rang. Someone was standing outside the door. Who would come at a time like this? Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to come to the living room door. 3 options popped up on the screen. The visitor claims to be a police officer. He received a report from a resident saying that someone has witnessed a murder. Please cooperate with the investigation. What will you do next? 1. Open the door, cooperate with the police investigation, capture the killer, and avenge the stepfather. 2. Tell him that you've saved his stepfather and turned him into a doll. 3. Ignore him, sleep. Looking at the 3 options, this time Chen Ge gave it some thought. The man outside the door shouldn't be a police officer. He's probably the man in the raincoat that Xiao Biyu met earlier, the real killer who killed her stepfather. Impressive, no wonder he's a professional horror designer. Fan Kong played the game a few times before he realized this problem. He realized that there was indeed a big gap between him and Mr. Chen. The gap was not in terms of intelligence but in terms of thinking. Mr. Chen could easily guess the killer's thoughts. The raincoat man and Xiao Biyu ran into each other outside the elevator. He wanted to kill Xiao Biyu, so he turned back to kill Xiao Biyu. That fits the game's dark background. Chen Ge moved the cursor to the second option. The fact that the stepfather has been saved will trigger the killer. When he knows that he's been exposed, he'll definitely go crazy. He'll probably resort to violence to force the door open. Xiao Biyu is just a child, so for the sake of safety, I should choose the third option. Hearing Chen Ge's analysis, Fan Kong couldn't help but nod. The third option is the most suitable, but when you wait until midnight, when the female ghost comes from the side, you'll have nowhere to run. You'll have to leave the house, and when you open the door, you'll find the killer standing there, blocking the only way out. In other words, after I chose the third option, the killer who pretended to be a police officer didn't leave but waited at the door, waiting for me to leave. Chen Ge stared at the screen. The design of this game sure is despairing. Yes, all the options lead to death. There's no way out. Fan Kong pulled at his hair, and he was getting angry. That's not so bad. Chen Ge thought about it and controlled Xiao Biyu to open the balcony window. He clicked on the backpack and tossed the needle and cloth that he had just obtained out the window. What are you doing? Fan Kong was confused. Attracting the attention of another killer. Didn't you say there's a madman dismembering his victims in the bushes? Chen Ge calmly tossed the cloth away. He could not shout in the game, and he did not have anything else with him, or else he would have tossed something heavy down, attracting the attention of another killer. Fan Kong and Fan Dade could not understand Chen Ge at all. This way of thinking was on a completely different level. Serial killers are usually lonely, and most of them are lone wolves because they have a flaw in their personality. The more people there are, the more uneasy they will be. The only person they can trust is themselves. In this kind of situation, when two killers run into each other, the most likely thing that will happen is that they'll fight each other. Chen Ge tossed the cloth for a long time before a man in a factory uniform walked out from the bushes. He raised his head to look at Xiao Biyu. After that, Chen Ge immediately controlled Xiao Biyu to retreat. Now comes the most crucial moment. You're sure he'll come up? When Fan Kong played the game, he had not done this before, so he had no idea what would happen later. You don't understand a killer. When we met earlier, he should have been counting the floors and confirming the location of Xiao Bu's room. We need to pull out the roots when we cut the grass, so he'll definitely come up. After saying that, Chen Ge seemed to realize something and added, I just have a better understanding of a killer's behavior, don't misunderstand. It would have been better if he did not explain, but after he did, Fan Kong and Fan Dade's hair stood on end. Fan Kong was actually fine, but Fan Dade was completely afraid. As a bystander, he felt it the most. It was the same game, but when his brother played it, he scratched his head in pain and despair, feeling like he was going to suffer from depression. But when Chen Ge played it, his style changed completely. He was not anxious, and he even seemed to find joy in this game that he had not felt for a long time. When I entered the building, I've memorized all the corridors. There are two ways to go up and down the building, take the elevator or take the stairs. Chen Ge looked at the screen and was very calm. Depending on the situation, we'll choose the route that is further from the murderer. Of course, the best result is for the two murderers to die together. Then, Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to enter the kitchen. What are you looking for? Fan Kong's heart jumped. The game had entered a plot that he had not experienced before, so he was both nervous and expectant. I'm looking for things like a cleaver or a fruit knife. After the two murderers fight, the survivor should be injured. If we have a knife now, we'll have a chance. Quote. Fan Chong did not know how to respond to Chen Ge's explanation. It felt like this man was trying to turn a puzzle game into a battle game. Looking around the room, Chen Ge did not find any knives. There were only needles and cloth. Looks like this game doesn't encourage resistance. The player can only hide and try their best to survive. The game's graphics were average, but the details were very good. It allowed the player to immerse themselves into the character of Xiao Biyu like they were the lonely and pitiful girl. When Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to return to the balcony, the madman in the factory uniform had disappeared. Several minutes later, a chat box popped up. There was the sound of fighting coming from outside the door. The knife pierced through skin like it was stabbing into a bag filled with water. Someone was running and someone was chasing. The two murderers are fighting. Fan Kong looked at the chat box, and he was more excited than Chen Ge. Two murderers, one is chasing and the other is running. Now is our chance. The murderer who blocked the door had left. Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to open the living room door. The corridor was dyed red. The blood trail leads toward the stairs. They've gone that way. We'll take the elevator and leave. Fan Kong's heart was in his throat. At this time, he could not afford to be distracted. He did not know when the murderer would return, so time was tight. Don't worry, it's already dark outside. Even if we take the elevator, where can we go? Didn't you say that people will die mysteriously if they walk on the streets after dark? Chen Ge's brain was spinning. Furthermore, if we take the elevator, the murderer will definitely come after us. It's too dangerous. Then what do you suggest we do? From Fan Kong's point of view, no matter what he did, he would still die. At most, he would just delay the arrival of death. It was within my expectation that the murderer would run toward the stairs. Since the elevator has to wait, if he wants to shake off his pursuers, he can only use the stairs. Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to walk out of the house. Then, under the extremely shocked gaze of Fan Kong and Fan Dade, it stopped at the door of Ghost Neighbor. What do you want to do? The two brothers stared at the screen. I plan to deal with the other murderer as well. Chen Ge clicked on the backpack. Standing at the door of Ghost Neighbor, he abandoned the remaining cloth and thread in the backpack. This scene stunned Fan Kong and Fan Dade. After a long time, Fan Kong was the first to react. You want to create the illusion that Xiao Biyu is hiding in ghost neighbor's house. And then lure the murderer into ghost neighbor's house. Quote. That would be the ideal situation. After throwing away the cloth, Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to walk toward the stairs. The two murderers ran down the stairs. Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to stand at the corner of the upper floor and the lower floor. In other words, when the murderer returned, he would be able to find Xiao Biyu. You sure are brave. Fan Kong sighed sincerely. I have no choice. If I hide in the house, I'll be discovered. If I use the elevator to leave, the murderer will chase after me, so I have to deal with them. Chen Ge looked at the computer screen. 10 seconds later, a man in a factory outfit ran up the stairs. Looks like the raincoat man has been killed. Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to lean against the wall. From this angle, he could see the murderer. What happened next was different from what Chen Ge expected. The murderer in the factory outfit was smarter than Chen Ge thought. He did not look like a designed NPC at all. The feeling he gave off was that he was a real cold-blooded psychopath. He did not enter Xiao Bu's house to search but ran toward the elevator. Occasionally, he would turn back to look at Xiao Bu's door. Moments later, he returned from the elevator. No one had used the elevator earlier, so he was sure Xiao Biyu was still on this floor. Holding the sharp knife, the murderer entered Xiao Bu's house. Once he opened the door, he saw a dead body lying on the ground. Interestingly enough, a sentence popped up on the screen. It sounded like the murderer's mumbling, "Damn it. I'll have to deal with 4 bodies tonight. But I only wanted to kill one." The murderer in the factory uniform entered the room. He did not find Xiao Biyu, and a few chat boxes popped up. Where did the little girl go? She saw me dealing with the dead bodies, so she should be hiding in this room. The murderer searched the room but could not find Xiao Biyu. He had no choice but to leave the room. Then he noticed the rags on the ground. The girl left the room. There were blood stains on the rags. She wanted to bandage the victim's wounds. The rags had disappeared from the room next door. The murderer stopped at the neighbor's door for a long time. Then he knocked on the door. I'm the police. I received a report from a resident saying that someone witnessed a murder. Please open the door and cooperate with the investigation. After a while, the neighbor's door really opened. The murderer walked in with the sharp knife in his hand. It's time for us to make our move. Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to run out from the corridor. He used the mouse to click on the neighbor's door and closed it. Then the chat box popped up again. You heard someone calling for help from inside the house but you did not do anything. 10 minutes later, a new knocking came from the door. On the screen, Xiao Biyu stood at the neighbor's door. The girl in her mother's pajamas was cute and innocent. She stood out from the rest of the world, but for Fan Kong and Fan Dade, this little girl was the scariest presence. You even closed the door for him. Fan Kong sipped on the coke. He needed to calm down. Fan Dade also had a feeling that Chen Ge was not a normal person. He did not dare to speak too loudly after witnessing the whole process. Don't worry, this is called eradicating a pest for the people. Night fell. Chen Ge did not waste any time. He controlled Xiao Biyu to enter the corridor to find the raincoat man's body. He kept using the mouse to click on the body. What are you doing now? Fan Kong had given up on trying to figure out Chen Ge's thoughts. I'm looking for the key and other useful things. There is a ghost living next to Xiao Bu's home, so we can't go back there. If we can find the key to the killer's home, then we'll go stay there tonight. Staying at the murderer's home. Fan Kong and Fan Dade turned to look at Chen Ge in unison. The most dangerous place is the safest place. Chen Ge clicked on the raincoat man's body. When the mouse moved to the man's shirt pocket, a dialog box popped up. You've pulled back the dead man's shirt and found a room card inside the blood-soaked pocket. You can really find something. Fan Kong leaned closer to the screen, and his face was filled with curiosity. Placing the room card inside his backpack, Chen Ge continued to click for a long time. It was not until the sound of human heads banging against the door grew louder that he walked down the stairs with regret. I still haven't found any knives or murder weapons. I doubt there'll be another chance like this in the future. Chen Ge clicked on the backpack to look at the room card. The pure black card was stained with blood, and the number 4 was written on the back. Fan Kong, how many hotels and hostels are there in this town? Only one, the small hotel that I told you about earlier. The boss is a murderer, the chef is a madman, and all the tenants have been killed. Is the hotel far from the residential area? It's not far, just one street away, but are you sure you want to go there? Fan Kong did not quite understand Chen Ge's thoughts. Haven't we just dealt with the murderer at the residential area? Now we only need to stay at the residential area to survive the night. Quote. Seeing that Chen Ge was still hesitating, he reached out to grab Chen Ge's shoulder. You're not planning to rely on this little girl to take out the whole hotel, are you? We don't even have a fruit knife, so how are we supposed to deal with them? Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to walk down the stairs. The strange thing was, the thumping in the background did not weaken due to the distance between them. In fact, it grew louder and louder. Then why are you leaving? Pay attention to the background music. That knocking sound came from the neighbor's ghost. Now that the sound has become urgent, it means that after we lure the murderer into the neighbor's house, the neighbor's ghost might have gone on a rampage. Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to come to the first floor and looked at the dark street. Why would people die mysteriously on the street at night? When you played before, were there any signs before you died? Quote. There were no signs. He just died suddenly. There seems to be an invisible killer on the street. Invisible killer. Chen Ge shook his head. Many of the scenes in this game are probably based on what happened in real life. It's impossible for anything too ridiculous to appear. Big brother, the whole town is filled with murderers and ghosts. Isn't that ridiculous enough? All of that is acceptable. At least it doesn't violate the game creator's own design. Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to stop at the corner between the first and second floor. Fan Kong really did not understand what Chen Ge was doing. After a long time, he finally asked, Mr. Chen, what are you doing? This is not good. Chen Ge stared at the screen and said casually, the way a game is played usually determines how it scares the players. Did you notice that as the time of survival increases, Xiao Bu's movement speed increases? That's a good thing. Fan Kong looked at Xiao Biyu, who ran back and forth in the corridor, and he felt that her speed had indeed increased. The game creator won't be so kind. This is a hopeless game where you can't fight back. The increase in Xiao Bu's speed means that we'll run into something faster and scarier. Chen Ge held his chin with one hand. If I'm not mistaken, after midnight, we'll have to avoid more than just murderers. Chen Ge's words chilled Fan Kong's heart. Murderers, ghosts, traps, and a random death mechanism. The game creator has no intention of letting the players clear the game. Don't treat this game as a game. Think carefully about why the game creator created this game. Only by understanding what the creator wants to express and following his thoughts can you find the answer. Chen Ge had been thinking about what the game creator wanted to express. Fan Kong was playing the game, and Chen Ge was experiencing the creator's emotions. Any game would contain a certain kind of emotion, including resentment, anger, sadness, and so on. To his surprise, even though this game was filled with despair, it did not show any emotion. Xiao Biyu was like an emotionless robot. She would not feel fear, pain, or worry for her family. She was always a bystander. Xiao Biyu is very interesting. After seeing her stepfather's body, she even had the thought of turning him into a doll. This is definitely not a normal child, but how did she become like this? What had happened to her? Everything that I'm experiencing now, is that what Xiao Biyu has experienced? Quote. Chen Ge was lost in thought when Fan Kong's words pulled him back to reality. Then what should we do next? Our main goal is to survive this night. The corridor is temporarily safe, so we'll stay here for now. After the neighbor's ghost comes out, we'll go to the hotel. Chen Ge's mind was very clear. Now the only thing I'm worried about is accidentally triggering the death mechanism when we cross the street, and we'll die for no reason. Is that really what you're thinking? How come I feel like you're purposely waiting for the neighbor's ghost? You want to use your own body as bait to lure it to the hotel, Fan Kong whispered. It's not baiting, it's luring. Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to run up and down the corridor. He was already familiar with Xiao Bu's speed and running style. This is a game where we can explore freely. We can't just stay here for one night. After luring the neighbor's ghost away, the residential area will be completely safe, and we can come back here without worry. In the background, the thumping sound grew louder. Chen Ge moved the mouse to a comfortable position. She should be coming soon. Before he finished, on the screen, a woman holding her own head appeared at the corner of the second floor. Her shirt was dyed red with blood. A red specter. Chen Ge controlled Xiao Biyu to run down the corridor. He did not forget to adjust the angle to observe the female ghost holding the human head. Including the woman in the red raincoat, this should be the second red specter in this small town. The female ghost holding the human head moved very fast in the game. Chen Ge became serious as he controlled Xiao Biyu to run. In just a few seconds, Chen Ge had already controlled Xiao Biyu to run out of the residential area. There were no streetlights on the street, and it was dark. Chen Ge narrowed his eyes. He used yin-yang vision and barely managed to find his way through the darkness. He controlled Xiao Biyu to run toward the hotel. When he passed one of the window suddenly opened, and a hand reached out, trying to grab Xiao Biyu. Thankfully, Chen Ge had yin-yang vision, and his eyesight was far better than a normal person's. When he saw the hand reach out, he changed his direction and narrowly avoided it. The killer is hiding in the darkness. A drop of sweat slid down Chen Ge's forehead. Next to him, Fan Date and Fan Kong looked at the almost black screen. They could not understand why the man before them would move the mouse and keyboard crazily.